教你啊，他教你啊。
然后这个是 mute 还是 unmute 哦？
Вот это. I hope you're back in your seats because the workshop is about to start. So before it starts, let's meet our speaker of the day, Mr. Tan Xiang. Now, Mr. Tan, you may start the workshop anytime from now on.
Thanks, Wan Jing. Let me share my screen first. So I can't share my screen. Seems like there's some issues here. Okay, I'm the co-host now. Yeah, can share my screen. Okay, this one. Share this one. Okay. Okay, you guys can see my screen, right? Okay, cool. All right, so my name is Yi Xiang. Actually, I should not be Mr. Tan. It sounds very old. Yeah, just call me Yi Xiang. So I'm actually a full stack developer. I'm building software since year 2000. I think some of you maybe is not born yet. I'm currently a digital nomad as a CTO on demand for local and international startups. And I was a tech lead in Magic. Magic is an acronym for Malaysia Global Innovation and Creativity Center. It's a government agency that's based in Cyberjaya. So I worked there from year 2015 to 2022. Yeah, just May this year, I quit the job. So I'm also a startup community builder. I'm contributing as a mentor and judge. I judge over 30 hackathons, ideations, and accelerators. And I also contribute as an advisor for startup as well as an educator. Right. So that's a brief background about me. Next, just like to share with you this picture of me that it's one of my favorite pictures. Is when I was giving a speech in Google Malaysia, sharing about open data. Yeah. So I remember my first hackathon experience is in 2014 at the Angel Hack. So it was a hackathon organized by TM, Telecom Malaysia. So the event is held in their TM Tower at PJ. I didn't join as a participant. I'm joined as a mentor at the time, judging the IoT project sessions. So throughout my career in Magic, then I'm giving the chance to mentor and judge at more Star Weekend events or hackathon events. So Star Weekend is the branding that used by Google for entrepreneurs. It's more like ideations kind of hackathon. So in this hackathon, their main purpose is not to build the full featured program, but to more like a business model competitions. So there's also Tasta, where they are based in Sime Darby, Malaysia, which is in the Ara Damansara. There's some government's hackathon like the My Hackathon, as well as the Mosty one. NASA Space App, this one is organized every year in Malaysia as well. Organized by the Unlock Design. So I will talk about this interesting company later on as well. Magic was the company I used to work in. That Imagine Hack is the sponsored by Microsoft, if not mistaken. There's also Plus Highway, Future Hack in the APUs, Smarter Hackathon in Penang, IEEE, where they sponsor the youth entrepreneur in Sarawak. Yeah, so these are just a few of my hackathon experience as a judge or mentor. So today I'm not going to teach you how to how to win the hackathon, right? So it's more like experience sharing. If you follow whatever I say 100%, it doesn't mean you're going to win the hackathon as well. Eventually, it's in the hand of the judges, right? Okay. But before that, I just want to walk you through some of the slides that the organizer shared with me, which is the hackathon challenge. That's the theme of this hackathon. So they have selected, I think it's 5 SDG. If you know what's the SDG, it's a Sustainable Development Goal introduced by the United Nations. So there's the SDG that the organizer tried to solve in this hackathon is first one will be the third SDG, which is good health and well-being. Then it's the fourth SDG, which is the quality education. Then the eighth SDG, which is the decent works and economic growth. And last two will be the SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, and the SDG 13, which is the climate actions. So as you can see, this SDG, they actually cover a very wide range of problem statements that you can actually propose your solution to. So I would say you guys are quite lucky. As I've been to some of the hackathon, they only focus on 1 or 2 SDG, but here you have 5 of them. So yeah, there's many ideas, interesting ideas that you can propose. Next, let's look at the judging criteria. Okay, so as you can see here, there's overall we'll take the major percentage, which is 40, and the second highest percentage will be the technical. So this the discussion is on technology use. So I believe this one will be the judges might look at your UI, UX. I'm not sure they will be looking at your coding as well or not. So you find out from the organizers. Then the next higher percentage will be the impact. So this one is the just from the value of your innovation that you try to solve. How impactful is it, right? And the last two will be the feasibility and originality. So to me, originality is something that's quite abstract. Some judges might think the idea is original for themselves, but some may think that it's already happened in overseas and things like that. So these are the judging criteria, and eventually, like I say, it serves as a guideline for the judge, and it doesn't. It's not like school exam, right? It's not an objective kind of exam. It's a subjective kind of exam questions. So the mark will be given based on the judge's personal experience and their preference as well. Okay. Right. So for today, I can share with you some of the points that I'll be covering. First, I'll explain to you the different type of hackathon that I know, and I also like to introduce what's the purpose of this company when they organize a hackathon. Right? And last, I will share you with knowledge that I know about how to win a hackathon. Right? And last, I will talk about the startup journey, which is some of you might ask, well, what should I do after this hackathon? Okay, and we'll end with a 15-minute or 10-minute kind of Q&A sessions. Okay. Now let's start with the hackathon. So you can see the hackathon is actually is formed from the two words, hacking and marathon. So it doesn't mean you are hacking computers when you are running 30 km or what. You know, we are tech people like to come up words that's very funny or weird, like cloud computing. It doesn't mean computer on the cloud. Okay, so hackathon actually started as a team of people that when they are locked themselves in a confined space, trying to solve problems through coding. So it was first done by this team from the OpenBSD in year 1999. Yeah. So nowadays, the hackathon is run on the Friday to Sunday over the weekend. So people normally come for the event after they work. They pitch in the event in the late evening. They talk about the ideas that they try to solve in this competition, and they try to attract others participants to become their team player, team members. Yeah, so they form the team on the spot. We don't actually encourage people to pre-form the team before they come into the hackathon, but I will explain this to you why later on. And this, after your team is formed, you're actually expected to be working around the clock on Saturdays. So in the good old days, we even camp in the event locations. There's beanbag will be provided, a lot of snack and soft drinks will be given. So on the Sunday afternoon, you'll be damn tired, but you'll be asked to do the presentation to the judges. So the judging panel will be sitting down there to look at your ideas, and then it will end with the prize giving ceremony. Yeah, so of course all this is happened before COVID lah. So now you have a online hackathon, the virtual hackathon, and there's also hybrid hackathon. So I know yours one is an online one, where the duration actually spent across the entire week. Right? I think you have time until 9 November, is not mistaken. Yeah, so you are very lucky. You can actually do it at your own free time, right? Yeah, so Silicon Valley startup, they also run internet hackathon quite frequently. Many of the product actually churn out from this internet hackathon. Like for example, Mandrill, if you know about that, it's a transactional email SaaS-based product. It actually churned out from the MailChimp internal hackathon. Okay, so now let's just go to the 4 different types of hackathon. So the first one will be the coding competition. If your background is like me, a programmer, and you're from the IT society or IT faculty, you might think that hackathon is all about coding. Right? There are actually, but not every hackathon is like that. I'll explain about this later as well. So for a coding competition type of hackathon, you are expected to work on the programming projects with a very clear goal. Like for example, write a very effective algorithm to sort the data. Right? This second type of hackathon, which is the datathon that we call, it's more for data science people. So you are provided with data set, and you're required to work on to develop the algorithm based on the data. So this data will normally come from the real life data, but they will actually first hash those private C sensitive kind of data field and pass to you just to use it as a base. So this has done before in the Angel Hack, if I'm not mistaken, in 2016 at the Berjaya Times Square. Company like, I think JobStreet or some property website that actually gave out this data. Yeah. Next will be the ideation type of hackathon. So this kind of hackathon is more for business case competition. So participants are not expected to build a full-fledged prototype. Most of the time, they just need to present their ideas. You can see this kind of hackathon in Start Weekend, or those that's more geared towards the social entrepreneur, right? So last but not least is the common type of hackathon we all know lah. So this type of hackathon actually have a mix of all 3 above, right? Yeah, so I believe this hackathon is actually a common type of hackathon. Okay, next. Yeah, some meme for you. Okay. Right, so now I'd like to walk you through the purpose of hackathon. So it's important to understand why a hackathon is organized. Only you understand it, then you can come out the solutions that probably will bring you to the winning prize. Okay, so there are hackathons that's organized by Google, for example, DigitalOcean or some other SaaS-based or cloud computing company. Their main purpose is to introduce their product to the developer out there. So the best method to do this and the most cost-effective one is to organize a hackathon and make it a requirement that all the participants have to use their technology in these competitions to build something out of it, right? So this is a product marketing driven type of hackathon. Next will be the marketing or branding kind of hackathon. So company that organize this kind of hackathon, they do not focus on the winning projects. Their main goal is to get their branding out there. So they want people to know them as an open company. So they're open to technology. They're open to new ideas, right? So this more for their own marketing needs. The third type of hackathon would be to promote their own ideology. So this would be, for example, those SDG-driven hackathon where they want to get the world to solve or focus on the climate change issue, for example, or it could be companies that's, for example, the NASA organizations from US. They actually have the NASA Space App where they want to promote about their space innovation. Okay. Okay, next will be the sponsors that's looking for fresh idea or solution for problem statement. So companies that organize this kind of hackathon normally are the big corporate out there, where they are looking for fresh ideas to solve their internal problems. Right. So perhaps it's not just to solve, probably they just want a few other options as well. So this kind of hackathon have a highest chance that the winning project will be brought in as their vendors to continue to further develop into matured products. So last but not least will be the recruitment type of hackathon. So this will be organized by recruiting companies, recruiting firms, HR companies. Their main purpose is actually to scout the talent out there. So we'll talk about this kind of hackathon later on as well. Okay. Right. Jumping too fast. Okay, sorry. Okay, how to win a hackathon? Yeah, I believe this one will be the question most of you have in your head today, right? Since you don't get a free gift, right? Because it's a virtual one, I'm not sure. Because at our time where we joined hackathon for free T-shirt, free food, and all of this, yeah. But I'm not sure about that. What about the virtual one? Okay, so in case of you don't win a hackathon, what will you do? Right? Okay, but let's not worry too much. Let's think about winning it first. So to win a hackathon, you need to know your events and team. Okay. So what you know about this hackathon that you are joining? What type of hackathon is it? Is it an ideation one? Or is it looking for coding kind of competitions? So they are looking for technical advanced solutions or what? So you can actually know about it from the judging criteria and the marks allocations. Right. So from the judging criteria, you kind of roughly know, okay, should I focus on creating a beautiful slide and make a impressive pitching on the stage? Or should I put more of my time on writing code? Right. So I leave it for yourself to figure this out, since I already shared the judging criteria with you. And most hackathon, they actually have a team. Like for this one will be the SDG. And the NASA that I mentioned just now will be the space tech innovation. So knowing your events and team will definitely help you to propose the right solutions. Next will be knowing your organizer, judges, and sponsor. This is super important. Yeah. So who is your organizer and who is your sponsors? Right? Why these people, they are so free, they want to do these events, right? So like I mentioned just now, what's the purpose they want to run this hackathon? So there's a few of them, right? Like just now to promote their product. DigitalOcean might want you to use their services. So if you are able to showcase your solution that make use of DigitalOcean technology, then probably the judges is from one of the judges is a representative from DigitalOcean. then higher chance you will be winning the competition, right? So in the good old days where we have the physical hackathon, we normally have some co-working space sponsor our venue. So this co-working space, they come in as a sponsor to promote their space. So their goal is actually to get people to use their space, right? To pay for their space eventually. So by collaborating, they can showcase how good their toilet is surviving the crowd test. That's what we always say, joke about. Okay. Okay, next, you need to know about are your organizer or sponsor looking for idea to solve the internal problem statement or not? Like for example, the MOSTI, which is the Ministry of Science and Technology, during the MCO time, they organized a few hackathon events to source for solutions to overcome the COVID situation, right? So there's also My Hackathon, which organized by the government, which aim to digitalize government services. So the winning team not only get a handsome amount of prize money, they also be connected to the ministry, other government departments to continue execute their ideas as a vendor. Right? So these people can be awarded the government contract to continue working on their ideas. So another example I could give you is the post-aviation hackathon that I was a judge as well. So they actually eventually they selected a project that can help them manage the cargo effectively. So in case you don't know, you thought the Post Malaysia only send those snail mail, your love letter to your house or what, or parcels, but actually not. Their business is actually quite broad, including airport, logistics, and management. Yeah, so Post Aviation is one of the sub company that under Post Malaysia, which aim for this. Right, and another example I can give you is Plus Highway. So I was a judge there as well, representing Magic at the time. So they eventually selected a project that's can help them to reward their highway users at the R&R. So there was many idea proposed at the time because it's one of the most fancy hackathon I've ever seen. Right? Well, some of them might propose solution like how to use the highway effectively, how to reduce the congestion of the highway. Yeah, but if you reduce the congestion of the highway, some of them actually propose like don't let so many car go in. So from the point of view of a plus, it actually means what it means. You are reducing their revenue, right? Yeah. So you need to propose some ideas that actually matching or align with what they have in their mind at least. So in this case, they might already have some of the ideas they have, right? And they are just looking for some practical or short-term implementable projects. So if you propose this kind of idea, high chance you'll be selected. Okay, for those hackathon that's promoting ideology, right? Those that sponsored by Magic, we want to create more entrepreneur, right? So higher chance that if your projects is commercializable and can be easily bring to the next stage, then you'll be a higher chance to win the hackathon. So for those who are just sponsor hackathon organized for branding and things like that, I like to think of them as like kind of they're like my secondary school Boy Scout, right? We kind of organize events like combined meet or competitions. So the purpose is to invite the other Girl Scout from the nearby convent. Yeah. So it's this kind of event is most likely their main purpose is not to, they won't focus on the winning project. Their focus is for their own branding. So most likely they'll pick the more glamour kind of project to be the winning. So it sounds better in the marketing. Yeah. So last but not least will be the recruitment type of the hackathon. So this kind of hackathon, like for example, the Unlock Design is a Japanese company. It's an IT recruitment firm that's based in Malaysia. So they're looking to source a local talent and bring them to Japan to work for their Japanese client. So why they want to come all the way to Malaysia to do this? Because Japan is an aging society, right? And we know most programmers come from the youth. So if you won in this kind of hackathon, most likely you will be offered employment opportunity at Japan, for example, probably at Uniqlo and things like that. So this kind of hackathon, they will focus more on the individual talents more than the ideas. Yeah. So you understand about your organizer and sponsor, you also need to know who is your judge. Because the judge will be the one who finally give the marks to you and will directly say who will win this hackathon. So it is a coding competition, but if the majority of your judges do not understand code or they are not programmers, right? So that explains why it's important to know who's in the judging panel. But it's very challenging because most of the hackathon will not reveal the judge until the judging day. I can share with you some of the tips here where you can actually know, because most of the judges will be will source from the sponsors. It's a common practice for the organizers to source from the sponsors. So probably there's 5 sponsors for this event, then they will ask for each of them to give a representative as a judge. Right? So some company, they might put in their own people, probably their CTO, their CEO, CFO. So this will take up 3 seats already out of the 5 panel, for example. And this kind of setting will actually means that the company have more say than the other 2 external judges. Yeah. Right. So this all about knowing your organizers, judges, and sponsors can help you, give you a higher chance to win the hackathon. The next will be knowing your competitors. So, you know, if you read Art of War, they say that know your opponent, it already means you win half the war already. So in the physical events, we have the individual pitching, right? You remember the Friday evening where when you want to form your team, you need to go up to the stage and pitch about your ideas. So that's where you can scout about, you can learn about the ideas that others are going to develop. But you are not right now in the virtual hackathon setting, so I don't think you can do that. And also, if it is a physical, I'd like to remind you that people do pivot a lot in the process. So probably the first day they pitch about idea B, but on the last day they might present idea B, right? And there's also, have you heard of the terms like hackathonpreneur? So these are people that's very professional and super experienced hackathon participants they know all the trick of winning a hackathon. So all the in and out, they all know, and their sole purpose is to win the prizes. Right? So these people, they do not have interest to take the project they want to the next level, or if they are given a job opportunity, they won't consider that as well, because they just want to win the money, prize money, and they'll move on to the next hackathon. Yeah. Believe me or not, you can actually make a living by just joining hackathon in Malaysia back in the good old day before COVID. So as I'm in this ecosystem long enough, I actually met this individual frequently in those hackathons that I mentor or judge. So I can actually identify them, and some of them I actually make friends with, and I learn from them also. They are all very talented solo individual, right? So they work best as a solo. When it comes to teamwork, probably they will pick some of the team members that will not how to say as a serve as a will not overshine them, I would say. So it's not about programming sometime, right? I'd like you to know, most of the hackathon in Malaysia do not focus on coding. Like, for example, we don't look into your quality of code. You can hard code all the way you want. There's no time that the organizer or the judges will go through line of your code to judge you based on that. And you can see from the judging criteria, most of the time technical details do not take up majority part in it as well, right? And in the past, like for example, the 2014 hackathon at the Angel Hack, yes, we make sure the code is original. We actually go in the repo of the participant and check. But even that is very challenging because the time we have, and it actually depends on the knowledge of the people who do the checking. If he's not that knowledgeable, he might think, okay, this code is actually very original, but actually it's not. Right? So we just want to make sure no one pre-write the code before the events. But now I don't see many doing it anymore. Right? You can just call a npm, just include another package. These are all very common practice nowadays. So it doesn't mean that people who win the hackathon are not good coder. I think coding actually helped them analyze the problem statement better and able to propose technical solvable solutions. So they are also good programmers. They are good in selling ideas and doing pitch. I think this is very important. And I have seen teams that spend most of their time making sure every little things work, right, in the coding. For example, they actually code the user registration system, they code the login page and things like that. Well, the other smarter one, they will actually use a UI UX mock, and just by clicking the login button, you just go to the next page, right? So you need to find out what's the nature of this hackathon. Do the organizer really want to look into your code to make sure everything is proper, or they just want to judge you more from your pitch and your ideas, right? So in most of the cases, you want to use the fastest and easiest tool to build the most grammar apps. Okay, last but not least will be the teamwork. I like to believe the goal of the hackathon is to encourage teamwork lah. Because in university, I believe more of you are students now, university students. You're kind of confined in your own faculty in a way. You don't get a lot of chance to work with people from other faculty. Right? For example, your school project, your FYP project, you just work with people from your same faculty, right? Yeah. So imagine how cool it is that if you can work with people from the design faculty, for example, or people from the business faculty. You can build businesses already, right? Combining all these different expertise. So, and you need to know that once you graduated, you are directly thrown into the environment where you are expected to work with these people from different disciplines, right? You won't just work between the coders or what. You're expected to meet the client sometime. You need to work with the business people. You need to work with budget planning with the finance people. Right? So hackathon is actually a very good chance for you to learn all this. Right? This one is more important than most of the point I mentioned just now. So know your goal. Is winning super important for you or not? You have to ask yourself what you want to take away from this hackathon, apart from the t-shirt, free t-shirt. Some come here to make friends, some come here to learn how to pitch, some here to network with the organizer and judges. So I've seen participants that actually make friends with the corporate who organize the hackathon and eventually get himself a job offer to work in the company, right? So there are also people who come here to look for co-founders. These are normally the business people that they are looking for, tech founders. Yeah. So to me, winning is really not the most important thing because I never joined any hackathon as a participant. So I never won any hackathon before. Remember, most of the time I'm the judge or mentor. So joke aside, I really hope you guys enjoy this process and focus on the then focus on the winning part. So enjoy the process, yeah, not the winning part. Be open, learn as much as you can, right? There's always something you can take away. Okay, I think I need to cover the next slide really fast since I spent too much time. Not this slide, this one talk about the team works. So I think this is common back in my uni also. I face this issue when I come out to work. I also face the issue, and even today I'm still facing this issue. When you work in a team, this is the problem you have to deal with. Okay, Team Canvas. So this is the guideline that we like you to use it as a reference lah. It will help you when you are undecisive about which idea to pick and how to break your idea into workable chunk. Okay, right. So for example, I just take one example. Let's say I want to solve the quality education SDG. So my problem statement would be how to encourage Malaysians to read and write more, right? Not just reading, but I want them to write more as well. So I will first fill out my member's name on the top right. So that would be the all the members in your team, and the product name. I will give it a product called e-novel portal, for example. So my MVP actually means minimal viable products, because you're not going to build the full product here. You're not going to build the login system. You're not going to build the contact us page. You just want to focus on the most unique part of this solution. So to me, it will be the website where people can read all the story that the committee members write, right? So I can actually come out this prototype just using a WordPress. I don't need to code all the way from the ground up, because the main purpose of an MVP is to validate my ideas. I want to make it to be as easily changeable as possible, so I can quickly roll out new features, add in new things, remove things that doesn't work, and then show it to my potential user again to validate. So X factor, I like to think it as a unique selling point. So in this case, my ideal unique selling point would be a friendly community where the reader can tips the writer, right? So if you are, as a writer, you can post a story on this portal, and someone who likes a story just give you a virtual credit of tips. So apparently there's money involved, so I will need to use a payment gateway API. For example, in this case would be the Stripe, right? So what are you currently working on? This one would be probably you just have to update this frequently on what's the stuff that you're focusing on right now. Okay. Next to the center part, that would be the, oops, sorry, there's something blocking my screen now. Okay. Yeah, so impact on users. So that would be how my ideas will be impacting the user. So you can, as you can see here, this actually align with your judging criteria back there that I show you, where your impact actually take 15% for your points, right? So it's good that you figure out the impact here. Then it will help you to come out your presentation slide as well, right? So in this case, my idea, the impact on user would be probably able to showcase literature works easily, right, online, and to be rewarded at the same time. So impact on society. So this one is looking at a bigger scope. So how this idea will help the society or the industry as a whole. So probably I can explain that in the past, when you want to release a book, you want to publish a book, you need to go through the process, come out the money first, print the book, then only you know your reader like it or not from the sales. But by putting it online, I actually can get the immediate feedback from my readers as an author, right? Through the rating or the comment section. Then I can even design my next chapter based on the feedback. I don't need to write the whole book complete. They only know people actually don't like this story. Right? So this actually streamline the whole publishing industry and making it more effective in a way. Okay, the dev topics on the right-hand side will be the to-do. So you are going to break down what you're going to build for the full system. So in this case, probably it will be a system where the writer can post their novel or story, and the next component would be the reader can search and read their favorite story. And probably another component would be the interactivity part, where the writer and reader can communicate through this portal. Right? So the future features, I like to think that it's something that you think is good to have, but not necessary you need it now urgently. So that could be probably a mobile app for this web portal, or could be e-competitions. For example, you can just run a competition on this portal and give prizes to the author, so you can enrich the numbers of a story you have. Right. So at the bottom, you have three parts here: the direct need, the help now, the 3 months plan, and the future needs. Right. So the direct need is what you actually need now. So probably you need 10 story to get started. You need at least 10 users or 5 author, for example, this kind of needs. So down the road, the next 3 months, you need to make sure you have the payment gateway system integrated. And in the future, like I say just now, you might need the mobile apps, right? Yeah. So I hope you guys are clear on this, right? So use this as a base because you can easily write down your ideas here. Then later on, you can use this idea in your presentation slide. Yeah. Okay, next page. Okay, this one probably would be the last part I'd like to show you before the Q&A. Yeah. So what is this? This is actually the startup life cycle that we use back in Magic. So we have as you can see, to create a startup, we kind of divide them into different stages that they have to go through. We start with the discover stage, then go to the validation stage, product development. Efficiency means you already have traction, people already using your software. Grow means you're actually expanding your software to other market and things like that. And mature means you are exiting and you are ready for the IPO, right? So that's different program that Magic actually offer in different stages to help these startups. Like for example, in the discover stage, we actually sponsor ideation type of hackathon. So Star Weekend is some of the program that we sponsors. Student or normally they'll come to this event. They do some market access, market analysis, surveys to find out is the idea workable or not. Are they solving a meaningful problem? Will anyone interested in their solutions or not? Or is the market big enough to solve it? Yeah. So ideation hackathon actually fit for this vertical of crowd. Then for normal hackathon that we can see, like this one, for example, is actually for the validation stage. So you actually have to build a MVP in the validation stage. You want to test it with your early customer. So so for us, when I was a judge back then, I would look at is the idea has been tested with the potential user or not. So I look at the survey, the data as well, not just for the final products. Yeah. So startup failure rate is actually very high, and most of the time it fails not because the idea is not good enough, but because conflict between the founders, right? So hackathon is actually a very good avenue for you to try your chemistry out with different people quickly over the weekend. So as a mentor, I always suggest my mentee to join a hackathon. When they come to me and ask me where can I find a tech co-founders, right? So they just have to join a hackathon, and they can just pitch their ideas there, and they can team up with different people to try is it really work out or not. Yeah. And for you, if your idea is regardless you won the prizes or not, so if you think you like to work on your idea for the next stage, that's where you will move on through the funnel. So the next stage will be the phase 3, where the product development. Here you will work with your team to complete all the functions that for example, all these future functions, right, that you have listed here is where you want to continue working out, and you will want to continue build the tractions where you can join some of the accelerator programs that will help you accelerate your product out there. And last but not least, if you are successfully pitched to the investor in the demo day, then they will invest money in your startup to bring you to the next stage. Yeah. So this is only for those who like to bring their ideas to the next stage to develop as a company. Okay, I think I kind of cover most of it that I'd like to share with you today. We can go to the Q&A session now. Okay. How should we do it? Sorry, I think I ran out beyond the allocated time. I think it was designed to be 20 minutes. Talking too much already. I think I get it all already.
No worries, no worries. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, you can just drop out in the chat box below.
Yeah. So while you guys are coming out with the questions, probably I can share the last slide first.
Yeah, sure, you can go.
Yeah. Yeah, so in case you need help, can drop me an email, but no guarantee I will reply you in real time because I'm not your AI chatbot. You can add me on my Facebook, so I kind of add everyone in my Facebook. So there's always people come to me and ask me where can I find developers, that I put the job post on my Facebook. So there's actually benefit for you to add me on the Facebook. So there's also others Facebook group that I like to introduce you to. Like for example, entrepreneurs and startup in Malaysia. This group have about 104 entrepreneurs out there. There's Kaki Repair, Kaki DIY groups. So this one is 55K. There's Programming Laman Web and UI UX, 31K user. Developer Kaki, 26K. Startup Mama, 23K. And Startup Malacca, because I'm from Malacca, so I'm a bit biased, so I put it out here. Yeah, so there's actually many groups, and I believe your MMU IT Society also have their own groups. So this group should be able to help you, especially when you are trying to do survey, market validation. Most of this group people are very helpful one. Those not helpful, I'm not posting here already. Just kidding. Okay, first question. Okay. Is Grab started with Magic and become a successful company now? Okay, from what I understand, Grab was started as a My Taxi, right? Tan Chong's family people. Yeah. So they actually approached Cradle. So Cradle actually funded them. That time Magic is not formed yet. Yeah. So they actually came to Magic for our different program. It's a later stage program, which is I believe is the one ES Stanford, where we sponsored them to US . Yeah. So I speak as if I'm still working in Magic. Sorry, I'm no longer a magician. I just quit in May. Yeah, but this is what I know. Yeah. So next question, since you stated that knowing our sponsor and give a solution through their platform might be a bonus, it's much better for us to come up with an idea that can merge all the sponsor platform by making current pipeline to be more efficient. Okay, this one you need to be smart as well. If the sponsor doesn't have a representative in the judging panel, that means they are not going to give you mark . So even you use their technology, they may not know. They may be happy when they find out later on, but they will not directly contribute to your winning chances, right? Yeah. So it's important actually to know who are in the judges actually. Yeah. So I will assume that among the judges, sometimes it's not like everyone have an equal equal right also. In a way that, so because as an external judge, normally we'll respect the internal judge. For example, if it's a hackathon by for example, hackathon organized by DigitalOcean, for example, but they invite me as a Magic judge to go there. So sometimes I respect their decision more than my own opinions, because they are the one who put the resources into this event, right? Yeah. So if they say they want to give more weightage to the technical advanced kind of projects, then I think I will agree as well. Yeah. Or in another situation, maybe it's a marketing company where they say, okay, we like to pick someone that have more better slide and nicer UI. Yeah. So even though I'm a coding background, but if my seat is only 1/5 and they have the other 4 judges all agree on their direction, I will have to respect them as well. Yeah. So it's eventually it's come down to who's the judges and who have a bigger say. Yeah.
I hope it answers. Anyways, I'm so sorry that we are short of time. So I think we have to wrap up this session. Do you have any like last maybe last wrap up that you want to bring to the audience?
Yeah, I have. I do hope you guys enjoy the process. Like I say, winning is actually not the most important part of it. There's many other events you can join. I think now is post MCO time already. You get many hackathon in a year. Yeah, so do enjoy the process and have fun. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Very much.
Oh, there's another question coming. Okay, I
kind of like the time, but maybe you can make it short.
Yeah. So the question is yeah, I mentioned the UI UX a lot of time, right? So Josh will also look into how user-friendly the application. Yeah, of course, yes. Because I think as human being, we are attracted to beautiful things, right? So a nice UI UX mock-up actually will, from my experience, will give you more points than say ugly looking but working system, for example. Sorry to say. So as a team, you can actually use some of the ready UI framework out there that can speed up your work instead of coming out your own UI by coding the CSS stuff from ground up. Yeah. So work smart towards your goal in this competition. Yeah. Okay. I hope that answer your questions, Deborah.
Okay, so yeah, cool.
Okay, once again, a big thanks to Mr. Tan for this amazing talk. And next up, we'll have a very interesting session where our special guests will share their experience in the hackathon. Now, I would like to introduce our special guest for today, which is Liu Kuan-yong. He's a software engineer at Telenox, an alumni of FCI who is passionate in sharing his knowledge about design thinking and project management. So today he will be sharing some practical tips regarding design thinking and project planning. Without any further ado, let me pass the stage to Mr. Liu Kuan-yong. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me? Is my mic working? Just to confirm. Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, not in clear.
Thank you so much. Yeah, before I start, just want to say that that was a quite interesting session shared by Mr. Tan. I was listening and then quite immersed in the speech, and I joined a few hackathons before, and I wish that I could listen to his speech before I joined my previous hackathon, because some of the mistakes I made in the past also quite relevant to what he been sharing right now. But today I'm going to share something maybe a little bit different. I'm going to share some design thinking tips and some project planning that might be it just serve as an additional or alternative tools for you guys to at your disposal to maybe you can implement some of the tips sharing right here. Some of them are more about give you some idea of how you can think, because sometimes in my previous hackathons, some of them when I try to think like we are given problem statements, but we are not sure how to plan together, especially in a team. So you have people have different ideas and arguing that my idea is best or something like this. And so we need this is just some tools that you can use. It's not like the best tools, of course, but I hope that I can give some practical things that you guys can make use of. So without further ado, let me start. Okay. So the first thing, actually the entire project planning is just in one slide only for today, because in a hackathon, I think it doesn't require much project planning, because what most important is when you guys discuss anything, you try to jot down important things and keep it in a centralized documentations, in centralized documents. Open a Google Docs and then everyone discuss so that everyone can access the informations at one place. I think that is the most important things. But regarding project planning, typically there are a few different phases that maybe in your hackathon you might experience. So we will start, I mean, you guys will start fresh tomorrow. So don't rush to the code first. I will suggest, it is just suggestions. I will suggest that resist the urge to start the solutions. Start from the solution parts. What most important is to brainstorm with your teammates and pay attention to what is the skill sets that your teams has, what is the strength of your teams. So pay attention to those things in your teams, and then discuss with each other what are you good at, and then try to brainstorm with your team first before you going into talk about these solutions. And when it comes to the second phase, they start from the red colors, which is the brainstorm. The second is define. What define basically means is try to narrow down your problems. After you brainstorm the solutions you wanted to solve, try to narrow down it. And there are a few important things about define, which we will talk about later, which is asking a good questions. So a good question will lead you to better solutions, because if you ask the right questions, then eventually you are on the right path. Although your solutions might be a bit way off, or maybe it's not optimal, but at least you are solving the right questions. A lot of people's in hackathons, I would say that sometimes the problem that are solved, it is not that it's not a good question or what. It is just that maybe some problems are not what the market really wants, or not what the judges will be attracted to. So as what Mr. Tan has covered, another important part of uncover good questions is to know your judges well, or who are the target audience for these competitions. And when it comes to designs, the green color one, there are many ways of designs using, but I think in hackathons, most of the people will just try to sketch with like a Google Slides, or using a paper or something simple. But there are some tools like Figma that can be useful as well. I will share in a later while. And one thing I think is quite interesting, you can try out in hackathon, is do a simple testing, a very, very fast rapid testing, which means that you find some user to try out your products and get their user feedback. So I think it's a 5-day hackathon for CodeNection. So maybe you have plenty of time to try a bit to get new perspective that you might not even realize. So it's very important to have diversify your thought on your projects. Yeah, and then launch things is just eventually you try to pitch it, you try to market it to your judges. Pitching will depends on your style of speaking. Make sure you develop your own style of presentations in your pitch to stand out. So without further ado, I think this is a whole product, the life cycle of typical projects. So it can be iterative, like after you try your testings already, and you have something you want to change again, you can go back to the brainstorm stage, brainstorm again with your teammates. Okay. So far regarding the project lifecycle, is there any questions? Oh, forget about say something like if any one of you have questions to ask, or something to say, feel free to unmute yourself to talk to me, or you can type in the chat session also. So I'll try to make these sessions a little bit more casual. Actually quite casual also can, we can just relax a little bit. I'll just share some tools that might be practical for you to use later on. So this part, product development part is probably just a theoretical things only, which we try to not get too obsessed with it, because in your hackathon projects, usually it's after you build it in your hackathons, you're gonna throw away next after you finish it, because the code that you are trying to because the main goal is not to build high quality systems, is to try out the ideation parts and join building new solutions, as what our previous speaker, Mr. Tan, has been talking about. So, any questions? Is it okay that I move on? I would assume in hackathon, is it better to spend more time on design of the code? This is I would say that it's an iteration. So if it's necessary to change your solutions, then then we will spend. I think to me personally, if you look at the criteria, the judging criteria today's, I believe most of the time, attractive idea would be more important first. Instead of waiting which one is more important, I would say that it's more important to get your idea right at the first few days. So if you do not spend enough time to understand your problems, to understand the questions, no matter how good you are coding, you will waste a lot of time in changing it. So which one of it is more important? I would say you need to have a good fundamental understanding of the question first. So maybe the fundamentals is the questions. If you do not have a good foundations, no matter what you build on tops, no matter how good your code quality is, eventually you are solving not the good questions. So I hope that answered the questions. Okay, I like this kind of you can just keep throwing in questions. If you didn't see the chat, then you just unmute and then, hey, can call me KY or Kwan Yung. You can ask me questions, right? So the next part I want to talk a little bit about is it's scrolling. Wait. Go back. Okay, is design thinking. Okay, I'll move on a bit. So I saw some question, but I'll move on a little bit first. So design thinking is basically a process of involving different phases. The ultimate goal is basically help you to generate more ideas. And if you look at Google's, if you look at Facebook's, a lot of great companies in the world, how can they solve so many questions? How can they systematically keep on generating tons of ideas to users? So there are tricks behind it, which is finding the right formula to generate a lot of ideas. So in these hackathons, I will share maybe something that can be, I hope at least something can be useful for you, but you don't have to follow it 100%. Can follow your own style. Give your own idea a try, right? So in terms of design thinking, what important is understand your user and uncover hidden needs. So a lot of times we tend to think problem from our perspective. So we think that this is what he needs or this is what she needs. But sometimes a good solution is to uncover like things that they really need, but they don't know they need it. And I know it sounds weird, but there are tools to uncover the hidden needs. And once they realize that they rely on it so much, so it will be a success for your ideations part. So in a design thinking, how do I go to, wait, okay. So in design thinking, that involves usually 5 phases. You start from empathize, which is try to understand your users. After you try to understanding them, we try to define them, which is narrow down to your problem statements, asking the right questions. So define is also about pain points, right? You want to write it down and create problem statements. And this is actually one of the crucial part, because like I said just now, asking the right questions is sometimes can save a lot of times in the next phase. So another thing is come out with ideas and prototypings and eventually do some user testings. So I think it's quite straightforward. I'll just quickly go through some tips for each phases that You can try it out in your hackathons. I tried out them in my hackathons, and I believe that it's a quite an enjoyable process to have some kind of system in mind, but you can adopt your own system as you mature and joining more hackathons as well, right? So before I move on, just let me check any questions that can answer. Oh, okay, so I'm asking the judges. Question, okay, good. Good question. What is the question I should ask? All right, I will answer that later. Can I finish whole project designing, link it to every page? Oh, I think that technical part, I think that one have no problem, because if you just design a simple prototypes and try to pitch it nicely, it's a luxury to have a good, I would say, very high quality source code, but eventually what your judges want is still something that I don't really sure about it. So you have to know your judges well, have to do some research or pay attention to the workshops. I think those are the way. So eventually in the hackathons, I will still believe that what most important is you enjoy the process, and because it's quite rare for us to, in the industrial, to build our own tools, build our own apps. When you join a company or in future, mostly we will start by maintaining existing systems and creating new modules. So starting something from ground on is something quite rare, and I think it's a good opportunity to learn different things. So enjoy the process is definitely something I'll recommend more. Okay, so when we talk about so I will go back to my topic first. So some people ask how to build a good problem statements. So the first thing is to have good empathize. You can see in these pictures. Here we have a solution that has solved the problem with equality. But sometimes does equality means the best for everyone, or for how you, is it the best solution for the majority, or something like this? So it's important to empathize from user perspective. That's why we call a user-centric designs. And a lot of time in the hackathons, we solve problems we are finding problems. Sorry, we are providing solutions to solve our own problems. So a good way to solve other people's, to remind yourself, is to create something called user persona. So user persona can be, I believe in hackathon, you can create as simple as possible. You can just create if you are designing a climate change apps, who will be your user? Who will be the main user using your apps? And then you can jot down some important attributes, like what is their motivations, and a little bit about their backgrounds, etc. So you can have a few user persona. So this allow us to, pivot our feelings, pivot our thoughts from that user perspective. This is actually more of a soft skills that are quite rare in software developments. Usually there are teams like user experience team who are looking into this user persona, but I think it's good for everyone to know, or you can try out to search for user persona and understand their pain, understand their feelings from their perspective. So from user persona, after you establish some of the user persona, the next thing is to define what kind of problem that they face. So we have a problem statements, the sustainable goals for our hackathons today. But those sustainable goals will link to some users in the world, right? So after you uncover who are them, the next thing is you need to try to think about their problems, not yours problems. In terms of define, we usually ask a question called how might we? So how might we solve? This question cannot be something that are too abstract or something that are too narrow. For example, if the climate change problems, how might we increase the awareness of maybe something about global warming. So there are different between global warming and global changing. So and there are still some people who don't believe in global changing, like they are not real or something. So try to understand from their perspective and know what they are facing, what is the issue that are currently, what's the reason, what's their motivation behind them. So I don't have the go-to tips, it's just tools for you to explore. I think eventually, one thing about hackathon is there are different formats of hackathons, as Mr. Tan has spoke about. Some of them are focusing more on ideations. So we will invest more time into problem statements. It's actually a quite fun journey to, what I joined a hackathon before, and the speakers talk about keywords like, it's called falling in love with the problems. So it's actually just a recent hackathon that I joined. I think it's quite interesting because a lot of times straight away we try to think about what is the solutions, what we want to build, but we don't have enough understanding about the problems. So that's why a lot of time the time is being wasted, or we don't know why the problem that we're trying to solve isn't good enough in judging. I think that's one of the reasons we don't understand enough the problems. There are a gap between our solutions and the problem that we are trying to solve. So asking the right questions, and there are also another, can try to ask from some other angles, like what if, use the tool how, what, why, when, etc. All of the trying to ask questions in different perspective, and or you can take a closer look as when you have a solution, take a closer look at the current existing products or services, whether are your problems already being solved, or actually their product works or not, if you try to solve these kind of problems. So here is just an example. So if you have a good problem statements, eventually you have a different path, right? And then you will lead to one solutions. So, and you can look at the different one, the second one. So actually I want to ask Guy which one is a good and bad problem statement, but I think I accidentally spilled my result. So some problem has unclear problems. You haven't defined good problems, and then you have many solutions. So that usually is a sign of your problem statement is not strong enough, right? And ideation parts. So now this is the part where I want to ask guys a question. So ideation is usually about creativity. Now, we will do a simple exercise. You can try to think with me and try to tell me the answer. So if I ask you guys to cut the cake into 8 square equal pieces using only 3 cards, how will you cut it to 8 pieces? Any answers? Yeah, for you guys 10 seconds to think about it. Anyone volunteers? Oh, okay. Do you know the answer, or so yeah. So one thing, if you don't get it, some of audience get it already. Super. Okay. It's my bad to assume that you know the answer. So I think you are very intelligent. So here's the answer. You cut it first, like the into 4 pieces, and then you cut from another angle. Okay. So one thing is, of course, this kind of test, it's not a good way to tell you that creativity is important or what. It's just a typical test, but I do want to raise some awareness when it comes to ideations. What we trying to do is, do not have any assumptions. We want to try to our best to remove as much assumption as possible. One thing I think a good tips that I have in my idea about ideations is forget anything about quality. Just when you try to brainstorm the idea, focus on the quantity, you know. So if you have teammates come up with any idea, don't argue with them. Don't disagree with anything. Start with agreeing with everything first. Because when you're at ideation phase, it's more important to have as much perspective as possible, gathering every possible idea, even if it's stupid. You know, when Facebook start out, when Google start out, people think it's not possible, something that, you know, it might not be practical in the world. So they might do it a stupid idea or what. But at ideation phase, at least, you know, try not to focus too much on the quality. You know, gather your friends, come up with as much idea as possible. The quantities matters. 20 ideas, 30 ideas, 50 ideas, can go crazy with that. All right. So only at the second phase, after you come up with the ideas, where's come prototype? Oh, there's no define. My defines. Okay. There should be another slide with define, which is oh, it's actually a previous slide. I think I get the sequence wrong, but okay. So after you finish your ideation parts, only when you narrow down and to talk about feasibility, whether it's practical or not, whether it's something that will be implementable or not. And at this phase, even though there will be, I think usually I face one obstacles, which is, how do I know whether my idea works or not? I think one part that I will try to do is to build a simple prototypes. So for those some of you who don't know what is prototype is like, you know, you have an actual app that you build for the productions for people to really use it, or you can build a mini, you know, things that can simulate the same app. What I want to share is something called prototypes. You can look at the right side, what's prototypes. So you know that in some movies, especially the James Bond's movie or the Mission Impossible, you will see people, you know, there are the holograms, then touching the screens and then move a lot of visual. You can see the thing coming out, and the people will swipe, you know, using the hand, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. The in a lot of like very techy scene in a movie, you know, there were like, even in Avengers, you know, you will see the Iron Man, you know, have a lot of Tony Stark, is the VR thing coming out, then they swipe the information. So here's the questions, you know, should we build it? Is this idea a good idea? So, or more importantly, how do I know whether it's a good idea or not? So in Google Teams, they actually conduct a very interesting prototype test. They ask a person to stand in the middle, and then they prepare some crops. The people will build a stick and then maybe put a paper. So the tester at the center, when they swipe, the people holding the stick will move the paper, and so it simulates that environment. So after they try to do it, they find it, you know, it's quite, my hand is quite tired. The mouse things actually is quite better, quite comfortable. You know, you just control at a very central controller. Using your hand is so tedious. So they uncover it, whether maybe this is not really a good idea. It looks fancy though, but maybe it's not a good idea. So what we call prototype is, we want to know whether our solution can solve the problem or not. So there are many ways to create prototypes or prototypes. Of course, prototype is more on the web developments and app development. If you do app developments, having a rapid prototyping skill is also quite good. Just a sharing, but the thing is, don't have to jump into the solution straight away to code to test your solutions. You know, you can have many ways to test it. You can ask your friends. In our recent hackathons, we are trying to see whether a ranking system in a chat to try to make a groups, you know, to rank similar stocks so that they can purchase a stock investment together. And then how do we try out this session is, we gather a bunch of users, our friends, and then give them Slido and give them time to discuss. We simulate the environments, and then we found out a few interesting behavior that they have. So this is what we call prototypes. You don't have to be a complete solution to test out your ideas. You can have a few of that sessions to try out, then eventually build your solutions, right? So there are some other prototype tools you can try to learn as well, but maybe not in this hackathon. This is just for sharing. Figma, I think, is really easy to use. If you want to design a website, everyone should know how the website looks in order to do it together. Or I think a preferable way is, just sketch it. Maybe you can use a Google Slides, can use a paper. Then paper, it might be harder because you have to share with other people's. I believe this is online. Am I right? This is an online. Yeah, it's an online hackathons. So maybe Google Slide or something that you can design together at some place, so that everyone can agree on same solutions, same ideations. So when I talk about testings, testing is eventually, just now I talk about prototypes testings. In your application, maybe if you use Figma to build a simple app or something, this is just some suggestions if you want to do a rapid testing to try out your ideas. Make sure you set your research questions, like what are you trying to investigate? Is the thing suitable? What do the user feel? Is it efficient? What's the set of correct questions, and find out. I'll argue that your audience usually your friends are. Just look around your friends and hey, can you come and help me? If you win, we'll treat you a Starbucks or something. And the next thing is set a task for your testers. So when they come for your test, what should they do? Usually we will set a task like, first of all, you have to log into our system. Second, you have to try to rank or try to try to find the register button. So the user will go through your test and you will observe them while they are going through their test. So they will give you feedback. Hey, when I try to log in, I face this kind of problems. So this is how you discover the issue with your apps. But again, I believe hackathons is not really about a good UX experience. It's more about whether your solution works or not. So perhaps it's better to test the core concepts of your apps, not the experience of your users. Also, I think it's very important is when user come, try to warm up your testers, because sometimes they might be, they are your friends. They might be less, try not to hurt your feelings. It's a good app lah. Okay, so try to get them to be completely honest with you. Hey, I think when I try out your idea, I don't know whether it works or not, or something like this. I don't understand your ideas, etc. So try to warm up them. Tell them that be honest with you. Okay, this is the task for your friendships already. So and listen and ask a lot of questions to them. So remember that when you do testing, what most important is user, not you. Okay, so observe them, try to pay attention to their tone, emotions. Do they feel comfortable because when they swipe it, sometimes they look tired, but they don't know how to express it. So it's very important to pay attention to listens. Okay, I think this is the last thing is called double diamonds. Okay, it's just a lot another way of thinking about design thinking. There are many formulas, like I said. I hope that some of the sharing in the sessions can give you some ideas, perhaps some practical tools for you to use to try out. You can always search, is there any better way to ideate with your friend together, and activity that you can do it together to brainstorm the ideas. So I think you have time to prepare until you start tomorrow morning. So I think that will be my conclude my sessions. If you have any questions, let me ask. Let's see. Is there any questions? Good idea, but should consider the policy or the sensitivity. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, are you talking about the swiping things? Okay. So any more questions before my session ends? I think that will be a time since we have in 2 p.m. already. Yeah, so when you face any problems with ideation part, or try to ask the mentors, feel free to ask them. Yes, use them as much as possible. Okay, I'll let the MC take away.
Thank you so much, Kwan Yong, for such an amazing sharing. Personally, I would say stepping out of your comfort zone to try every single new thing will definitely improve yourself even better. Not just to win the prizes, but also to learn throughout the competition. So I'll pass the floor to Jin.
Alright, so now it's time for Ask Your Mentor session. So before we start, maybe I'll just introduce the mentors to all of you. So firstly, we'll be having Mr. Balas Guari. You guys have met him this morning. He gave a little bit of introduction. Basically, he is from DHL, which is currently principal architect of DHL. Then we also have Ali Hosseini, who is the current front-end leader from Derive, and Pat Rahmani, who is the CTO from Citel, and Muhammad Yusuf, who is the senior lecturer from University of Technology Mara, UTM. And last but not least, we also have Mr. Verle Subaranyam, who is also the current CEO and the founder of Rodeo. Unfortunately, he won't be able on your Ask Your Mentor session later on. But if you're interested to talk to him, feel free to contact the following number, 0189 9495849. I'll just put the number in the chat box. So feel free to contact the following number and with the following text. I am from your group name, and I would like to talk to Mr. Velez, and yeah, you can ask questions following that. So as you can see, there'll be a link in the chat box below, and each team will be assigned with a time slot for you to meet your mentors. And please find your team name and join accordingly to your respective room number based on the time slot given in the spreadsheet. So every team will have 3 minutes per session, and now each team can gather your teammates in the breakout room to raise anything regarding the hackathon to the mentors. And I hope everything goes smooth on your side, and I wish you all the best for your competition. So if you have any questions that you want to bring out, you also can leave in the chat box. Then our organizer will just reply to the chat.